So I kind of already addressed my big takeaway, or the importance of this paper is that atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death globally. Hypertension or increased blood pressure is an important risk factor for that. And there was disagreement up until this study, and maybe even continuing afterwards, what the optimal or kind of ideal target blood pressure we should be shooting for to substantially or sufficiently reduce risk associated with increased blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Uh, I think even though the absolute risk reductions were small in this study, like we talked about, it's notable that this was only over 3.2 years, albeit in a population that had an increased risk. And also, if we look at the numbers needed to treat, it was 61 for preventing an event. So to me, that's fairly significant, uh, just on its own. And going to the time scale or kind of timeline perspective, I think although this was a lot of older subjects, and it's not necessarily directly applicable to younger individuals, if we consider that elevated blood pressure, kind of the risk of elevated blood pressure accumulates over many years of that increased blood pressure enacting or creating damage to the endothelium, the blood vessels, then uh, this may be interpreted as support, again, not direct kind of evidence for, since it wasn't in this population, but support that younger individuals should be shooting for below 120 millimeters of mercury, and that they shouldn't just be okay with their blood pressure being, above 120 systolic or above 130. Because if you really want to prevent or decrease your risk of cardiovascular disease, this is an important risk factor. And based on the outcomes in this paper, it appears that lower, specifically lower than 120, is better for reducing your risk. So